Hello, and welcome to Staying Strong for Marriages. Thanks for stopping by. Okay, hey, my friend, thanks for joining me on this video. We're going to be trying to look at the behind-the-scenes look at YouTube in regards to censorship, strikes, monetization, and where we're kind of going as a culture, online community, as far as what content are you going to find in the future, what's allowed and what's not. So let's look at this. I'm going to jump over here at some content. I want to show you this part right here. Not good, right? Removed, ineligible, terms and policies. So we ended up getting one warning, which we've had before, and then I got that reversed before. And I was kind of thinking that things were starting to lighten up, that people weren't being so kind of nutso about different therapies that, are repurposed drugs we've had for a long time. So what I'm going to do is end up moving a lot of the content that's either been removed or is non-monetizable over to Patreon. So here's some other things that are not ad suitable, right? Joe Rogan and Robert Malone, just my reaction, just a heads up, hey, this is my reflections on that interview. Obviously, those guys have rocked the boat big time, made huge waves, and, who knows what's going to happen. Neil Young and all those other people trying to get Joe Rogan completely off Spotify, so, okay, whatever. Did a reaction video to when Tim Pool had COVID, and what I thought were some decent takeaways as far as being prepared, having a plan, whatever your situation is, breakthrough case, brand new case, old variant, but now you got the new variant, or whatever, right? Not allowed, right? So it's fine. They are running a business, and I understand that. It's not like YouTube is a library, a public library, right? They get to call the shots, and I'm fine with that to a degree. But also realize that if we don't pay for some of this information, we're not going to see it. And it's really caused me to think, I always used to be like, well, we should just give our money to the Lord. I mean, the things of God are righteousness and justice and truth. I mean, is it totally out of possibility to take some of the money the Lord has given to me and support, say, unbiased, if you believe in such a thing, unbiased media outlets, right? So some of these more independent stations maybe are going to need our help. Dr. Baskerville explains why the American court system, family law courts, are basically designed to rip families apart, pit parents against each other, and drain all of the marital assets from the couple at the expense of the kids and everyone else. It's not allowed to really talk. Karen Strogan saying that feminism is basically a religion, in her opinion. She's a secular woman. That's how she sees it. Can't really talk about ministries that have abortion healing services for men and for women. Can't make any money off that, okay? And also, when it says limited like this isn't really going to show up in people's feeds. So they're not going to, quote unquote, like advertise it. They're not going to push it so that people can even see these things. These are the ones that we got early on. I wasn't really planning on this going as bonkers as it did, but a lot of people, right? 8,710 likes, and then another on just how to get IVM for if you're working in, say, subtropical regions as a humanitarian worker. Because we do talk a lot on this channel about what do you do with your stand? Hey, why don't you go serve people, the least of least, go to poor places, try to work in economic development, maybe help refugees, maybe help poor kids, teach, do whatever you can, right? You have this time. You can't control what your spouse is doing. You're going to pray your tail off. You're going to ask God to help you as much as possible. But ultimately, you could have a long stand, and so maybe you might want to think about doing some other things. Anyways, you can't talk about that type of stuff. A lot of these things, it's fine. You can talk about theology, but you can't talk about biblical gender roles, okay? You can talk about prayer. You can talk about the declaration of sentiments. You can talk about the Jezebel spirit, but certain things you just can't talk about. You can't talk about gender roles, biblical gender roles, and stuff like that. I don't know why. But anyway, so I'll move that stuff over. What else is on here? You can't talk about the prawn industry or a sex toy industry, how much money they're making, how much of that stuff is actually being produced and put out from Americans. I told my friend, hey, there is a case of calling us the great Satan. I mean, if you're the leader at putting out nakedness all over the world, but you can't talk about that even from a business perspective. You can't analyze it from a social perspective. You can't talk about a research paper called Till Death Do Its Part. And I'll show you here in a second that I did put this stuff up on Patreon. You can't analyze why nonprofits, a lot of nonprofits are into legalizing prostitution or quasi-legalizing it. It's a little bit strange. Can't talk about the Dunedin longitudinal study out of New Zealand. Saw a lot of domestic violence against men. Probably not going to be able to monetize this video, actually. Again, the older version of the prawn trends. You can't talk about the Duluth model, those founders, how they basically lied, tampered with the data. Just, they had an agenda. They had an agenda that had nothing to do with helping you or helping your family be successful or work out your problems. They were happy to destroy your family and many other families in order to push their agenda forward. Okay. What else? You can't talk about, what do you do, the theology behind the violence of God or the violence of Jesus? You know, I mean, he did make a whip. He did go in and totally disrupt a bunch of crazy, you know, turning over tables, money all over the place, scaring the snot out of people, right? What are you going to do with that? You know, should you or should you not? Why isn't abuse listed in the scriptures as one of the reasons why we're only hearing about this sexual immorality stuff when it comes to the New Testament? What do you do with that? How difficult is that? You can't talk about the Divorce Corp. It's a very, very good documentary. You can watch it for a couple bucks on YouTube Movies, and it's really eye-opening about that industry being huge. A lot of people making lots of bank on tearing apart families, honestly. But you get the idea. So, one, to protect the channel, I'm going to move a lot of that stuff over. Two, I need to figure out some way for this to be a little bit more profitable. So as you can see here, we had 2,260 views in the last 28 days, but the revenue is coming in right under $15. So that's going to be a problem. Maybe the things that we're going to need to start supporting as believers are going to be a little bit different than, you know, building the next big mega building out in the suburbs. Yeah, so like I said, we'll have a lot of these videos that about the COVID treatments on Patreon. You can just, you know, click on one of them. We have some other ideas, articles I wrote about submission, thinking about that, some other ideas about refugees. I've had one person send 60 euros. That was, thanks, Peter. That was a few years ago. But otherwise, no one has ever really donated to this ministry. So anyways, if you sign on as Patreon, like I said, $1 a month minimum, you'll get permission. You can unlock the videos, and you know they're embedded right here in this channel. And so you can watch them here and get all these insights about, you know, what all the stuff we can't say, basically, as far as HCQ and the different protocols from the FLCCC and stuff like that. Again, thank you guys for loving your spouses. It's been amazing. So thank you so much, and we'll see you soon.